Welcome to the Chilling Ghost Stories channel. Today we bring you a famous Chinese ghost story titled The Moonlight Mystery. If you enjoy the story, please give us a like and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you. Now let's get started.
Chapter 7. Moonlight. What is moonlight?
In Yexin's mind, the phrase moonlight still faintly lingered. She couldn't clearly remember where it started, but it seemed to come from a dream, from the mouth of the girl in the white dress, and it was clearly mentioned by her father's corpse as well. The first time I heard it was that night when you were walking in the corridor of the anatomy department. You fell, and then you said this phrase. Yáng Shàng comforted Yexin, who had just lost her father. She had also heard that Yexin wanted to start from the two words, moonlight, to uncover the truth behind the 405 murder case. Yáng Shàng regretted that she couldn't break free, but she was happy to be a senior advisor. At that time, it seemed like you immediately forgot those two words. I was about to ask again, but the old hunchback raised his hand to signal me to be quiet. Later, when I asked again, he said, "I'm afraid your friend will forever remember the scene of me dissecting the corpse under the moonlight, so I wanted you to stop bringing it up to her. It might have an adverse effect on her psychology." Yáng Shàng quickly explained, "So you secretly went to meet that old hunchback?" Yexin smacked Yáng Shàng on the head with her anatomy textbook. "Have you forgotten that he firmly told you not to go to the anatomy department? If you want to meet him, you have to go in the middle of the night. That's why I got scolded badly by him. It was lucky you weren't there for that one." "That's strange. If I was scared by the moonlight that night, why do I still vaguely remember the girl in the white dress in my dream mentioning those two words? Right in front of me, the anatomical specimen that was so perfect gathered together to form the girl in the white dress. Could the girl, the moonlight, the 405 murder case, and the ghost stories at the anatomy building be connected in some way?" The more Yexin thought about it, the more she felt that starting from the moonlight was the only way. Yáng Shàng said, "The strange thing is, if the girl in the white dress is a ghost in the anatomy building, she shouldn't be able to disturb you in your dreams. So was that high window just for display?" "Yáng Shàng, what nonsense are you talking about?" A well-dressed middle-aged woman entered the room. It was Liang Zhejun, Yáng Shàng's mother. Seeing Yexin, she stopped frowning and smiled. "Yexin, you shouldn't listen to my child. She always talks about these ghostly mystical things, instead of focusing on her studies. Thank goodness you helped her record notes, or she would have been held back for sure." Yáng Shàng didn't miss the opportunity and immediately replied, "Mom, you shouldn't let a good girl like Yexin be so scared. She's still confused about the 405 murder case. Can you provide any clues?" Liang Zhejun's face changed slightly. "Yexin, you shouldn't stay in that room any longer. As for clues, I don't know anything." Clearly, Liang Zhejun had no idea that Yáng Shàng had secretly moved out. She thought for a moment and then said, "As for the rumor about the dormitory where someone died, I think it's mostly just coincidence. The female students face a lot of pressure and don't know how to release it. Even after 15 years, it hasn't been explained. Your worries are pointless. How about this? On the night of June 15th, Yexin, come stay at my house. I'll tie both of you to the bed with a chain. Will that be safe enough?" Both Yexin and Yáng Shàng couldn't help but laugh. At that moment, Yexin realized who Yáng Shàng had inherited her good genes from. After Liang Zhejun left, Yáng Shàng said, "But the moonlight is such a familiar term. Where do you think we should start?" Yexin thought for a moment and then said, "I think we should focus on a specific case first. Let's investigate the 405 murder case. But this time, we need to be more professional." Yáng Shàng took the opportunity to tease. "If you need help, just call that guy Jin Mao Shi Wang. He always follows you around so closely, so easy to boss around." The office of Lu Bingcheng, the deputy party secretary of the Clinical Medicine Institute, was located on the 15th floor of the newly built donated building. Through the window, one could see the sprawling green campus of Zhangjin University of Medicine, and further in the distance, the bustling and ever more luxurious city center. Lu Bingcheng loved the view from here. Whenever he was feeling stressed or overworked, standing there to gaze at the scene would immediately calm his mind and refresh his spirit. "Hello, Teacher Lu." The door, which was already open, was knocked on by a female student for politeness. She was Chu Min, the class monitor of Class B from the 93rd batch. Lu Bingcheng recognized her and immediately invited her in. Please sit down, Chumin. He brewed tea and then got straight to the point. Teacher Li, the class supervisor, spoke to me about Yexin's situation. Today, I hope you can tell me more specifically, especially about the recent events. Min hesitated slightly, and Cheng understood her intent, promptly closing the door. It was then that she spoke. About a week ago, just before the midterm exams, we started noticing some strange behavior from Yexin. Min hesitated again, looking into the earnest and sincere eyes of the teacher, encouraging herself to continue. There was one time in the anatomy lab when Yexin insisted she saw a perfect, detailed human specimen in a small room. But when we went to check, it was just a decaying corpse. Another time around midnight, Yexin left the dorm and was gone for a long time before returning. There was one night when she stood right by the window, looking like she was about to jump. And then what happened? Cheng suddenly interrupted. A series of painful memories from the past resurfaced in his mind. I didn't dare say anything at the time because I heard that if a somnambulist hears a sudden shout to stop, it could trigger an abnormal reaction. Thankfully, she looked down at the courtyard and suddenly snapped out of it, crawling back into bed to sleep. But when she does sleep, she often screams, as if experiencing a terrifying nightmare. Her behavior has been so abnormal, I assume her academic performance must have been affected. Cheng mused thoughtfully. Strangely enough, it hasn't been affected much. She scored excellently on all her exams. In fact, she even got full marks in anatomy. I heard Yexin is an active member of the student union, very talented in the arts and a very professional host. Not long ago, she successfully organized the school's self-composed and self-performed singing contest. If a student like her were to decline, it would truly be a pity. Thinking of the female students who had mysteriously died in the past decade, Cheng sighed deeply. Min suddenly remembered an important detail. The night after she organized the singing contest, Yexin said her father came to visit, and they went for a walk together. But the next morning, we learned that her father had actually been paralyzed a week prior and was in a hospital far from the school. Cheng realized the situation was much more serious than he had anticipated. A student like this requires our close attention. Who does she usually interact with at the school? Yexin has a close friend named Yáng Shàng. They're inseparable, and both stay in the dorm. But recently, Shang has been suffering from hepatitis A, so Yexin has been alone. And we suspect that she may have a boyfriend now. Cheng was about to ask why Min thought that, but he had been working with students for many years and knew that female students often have a sixth sense when it comes to romantic relationships. It would be inappropriate to inquire too deeply. After thinking for a moment, he said gently, "For the students in her class, especially those who stay in the same dorm, the weight on a class president like you will surely become heavier and more difficult. From now on, I hope you and the students with progressive thinking will pay close attention to Yexin's actions and relationships. But please, don't directly interfere in her private life, as it may make her feel uncomfortable with everyone's well-meaning assistance. If you notice anything abnormal, report it to Teacher Li or come to me directly. My door is always open." Min nodded and asked for permission to leave. As she was about to exit the room, she asked, "If things get worse, what measures will the school take? We'll invite neurology experts to assess the situation, and if her parents agree, we'll admit her to a psychiatric hospital." Cheng felt somewhat displeased by Min's question, but he reluctantly explained the unfortunate outcome. Min felt a chill run down her spine. Wu Ziyang, the vice director of the campus security office, looked at the shy girl standing in front of him as if he hadn't fully understood her request. "What did you say? What do you need to see?" "Can I see the files and reports on the case of the murder attempt in room 405? I'm talking about the files and reports on the suicides at room 405, building 13. I work at the school's radio station, and I'm conducting an interview to clarify the superstitions that have been spreading for a long time. You know, June 16th is coming up, and this case is becoming a focal point for students." Yexin skillfully explained the details she had prepared in advance. Wu Ziyang sneered. A legendary detective from the city police criminal division, Dao Yijun, was in charge of this investigation and concluded that it was a suicide caused by the pressure of academic stress, with no other mysterious factors. I don't see what truth you think you're going to uncover. But every student faces the same academic pressure. So why is it that only this dorm seems to have a suicide every year? Who said only this dorm? I can give you a few examples right now. For instance, in 1987, room 610, building 5. In 1989, room 48, building 11. Last year, room 516, building 8, all had student suicides. Some were due to academic pressure, others because of romantic issues. You must understand, our school is a key institution under the Ministry of Health, and every year we have a batch of students expelled for poor academic performance. The pressure here is always intense. But that room currently houses 6 female students. We should think about their safety as well. I'm sure you can understand how they must be feeling right now. Yeshin countered. The security office will look into it. Actually, we discuss this every year, but there's no need to publicize it. You radio station girls, don't you have any positive, uplifting content to cover? Why copy those tabloids, digging up old moldy stories? Wu Ziyong was experienced enough to handle a student like her. But please, don't disturb our work. What class and department are you in? Let me see your student ID. Wu Ziyong was well versed in dealing with students. Yexin left the security office feeling disheartened, when suddenly she saw a man in his early 30s standing at a distance, waving at her. He was looking around nervously, seemingly unsettled. Yexin thought to herself, what is he trying to do? Is he a bad person? But then she realized she was at a school institution, right next to the security office, and no one would dare act recklessly here. So she walked over. I was passing by the security office just now and happened to overhear you asking about the murder case in room 405. Why is that? The man spoke hurriedly, glancing around as though he were involved in something shady. I work at the school radio station. June 16th is approaching, and I want to do a feature on it. Do you have any information? Yexin continued with the prepared response she had thought up. Sorry, I can't disclose that. He sighed and turned away. How frustrating. Yexin felt irritated as she walked on. When she reached the stairs, she glanced back and saw him still lingering at the same spot, watching her. She suddenly had an idea and quickly turned back, walking up to him. Look, I'm not hiding anything from you. I'm staying in room 405, building 13, with 5 other girls. If the rumors are true, bad luck could fall on any one of us. I hope that if you know anything that could help us avoid this misfortune, you'll let me know. Avoid misfortune? He sneered, then motioned for Yexin to follow him into an office on the right side of the hall. Yexin looked up and saw a sign that read, Driver's Shift Office. Do you think the school and the security department aren't paying attention to this? After a series of suicides at that room, the security department reported it to the police, and every June 15th, they take special care of the students in the dorm. One year, the police even sent 2 female officers to guard the area. Although they were told to stay awake all night, they still fell asleep. The result? Another student jumped. The following year, the security department evacuated everyone from the dorm, but somehow, one girl still snuck back in and jumped. The next year, they evacuated everyone again, but they also locked the doors. Want to guess what happened? One girl came back to room 405, but because she couldn't get in, she crawled through the clotheslines to get to the room, waited until the morning of June 16th, and then jumped. The year after, they put up steel nets around the railings. It seemed like the issue was solved, but one student somehow managed to bring back a high-end electric stun gun, burned through the steel net, and, well, you can guess the result. In short, the students who jumped seemed to be haunted, determined to end their lives. In recent years, the school has closed that room 4 times, but during those 4 years, there were still suicides, just not in that dorm. The problem is that our school's workload is too heavy. Every year there are students who can't bear the pressure. So the school reopened that room and keeps assigning new students to live there. In my opinion, it's very unfair. The driver went on. Seemingly relieved to vent all these frustrations, Yexin sat there, stunned, listening to him speak. After a long while, she finally asked, "Could you tell me your name?" "My last name is Bing. Since I'm new to this job, they call me Xiao Bing." I'm just an ordinary driver, not a private investigator. I remember clearly that on the morning of June 16, 1982, a student named Xia Xiaoya died after jumping from room 405. I was on duty that night. I drove her back from the mental hospital to the school and helped carry her luggage up to the dorm. A beautiful and innocent girl like her had to leave this world like that. After that, I began paying attention to the 405 suicide case. Living near the security office and relying on connections with my colleagues, I gathered a lot of information, but I don't know when it will be useful. Xiaobing's face softened as he seemed to slip back into the memory. Did Xia Xiaoya ever have to go to a mental hospital? Could it be that every girl who died in room 405 had a history of mental illness? Yexin hoped for a clear answer because, as of now, all the girls still in that room appeared to be in good health. Not exactly. However, among the 12 girls who died, 5 had been to a mental hospital, a very high percentage. Yexin felt more confused the more she learned. It seemed that Xiaobing noticed her confusion, and he opened the bottom drawer of his desk to pull out a work notebook. He quickly flipped through it, then said, I can tell you that the deaths of these 12 girls follow a pattern. You'll notice this too. The first incident was in 1977. The victim was Du Jing from Seoul, Jiangsu. The girl who jumped in 1978 was Shan Yuhong, a close friend of Du, who had a history of mental illness, and she was from Shanghai. The 1979 suicide occurred after room 405 was closed. The 1980 victim was Li Shuyan from Duyao, Zhejiang. In 1982, it was Xia Xiaoya from Changzhou, Jiangsu. Have you noticed anything? Yexin felt her throat tighten. They're all from the Jiangnan region. Correct. It might be a coincidence, but they're all from the Jiang and Zhejiang provinces. I can tell by your Mandarin that you're from the north, so you'll be safe. You should be cautious about the girls in the room from the Jiang and Zhejiang regions. Yexin didn't say anything else, but she knew she was the only one from Jiangnan in the dorm. Xiaobing noticed that her mood seemed heavier. He seemed about to speak, but hesitated. He then carefully observed Yexin. With her beautiful eyes and well-balanced face, she resembled a painting. Her features even seemed reminiscent of Xia Xiaoya from years ago. He felt a pang of nostalgia, but then he continued. There's another secret I've kept hidden for a long time, and I'll tell you now, hoping it will help you unravel this mystery. In fact, one of the 12 girls who jumped survived.